Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties, and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. My name is Bill Horan, along with my co-host, Nassau Community College student, Matt Leonard.
Today, you're going to meet two sisters from Long Island, one of which is a cancer survivor. Together, they started a non-profit that through fundraisers, supports those who won the fight, lost the fight, those still fighting, and those who are unaware of the fight that lies ahead.
That organization is called For All Who Fight, and they've been featured on NBC Nightly News, which is how we found out about the great work they've been doing.
Let's welcome to our show our two guests, Marguerite and Morgayne Rix, the co-founders of For All Who Fight. Ladies, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC.
Ladies,
thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
You've certainly had an emotional family story. I think if I understand correctly, in August of 2018, Marguerite, you were diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and 8 months later, your sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. So let's start with the happy ending. Right now, you're both survivors and cancer-free. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Tell us a little more about the story and what you went through.
So I was 23 in 2018 and was just experiencing some bloating. I had gastro issues back then and just went to a gastroenterologist thinking that it had something to do with that, and ended up getting a CT scan that revealed that I had a mass on my right ovary. So that was actually at the end of July, and then the ball moved really quickly, and I was able to get connected to an oncologist who was able to perform an oophorectomy on me, which basically means that my right ovary and my right fallopian tube were removed. And then she just removed my appendix while we were in there to make sure that everything was good. And it was diagnosed as stage 1C3 ovarian cancer. And then shortly after that, that was August 20th in 2018, I then went through freezing my eggs and then had chemo treatments, which overall took about 2 to 3 months as I was going. And then I got, thankfully, a clean bill of health by November of 2018 as well. And then, like you said, a few months later, Mikaela became the unfortunate one, but was able to come through it on the other side as well.
You say that so calmly now, but this is all within a year, and you got the word. It's like most of us go to the doctor and they say, oh, you have a hangnail, or come back and we'll, do some dental work or something. And your doctor said, you have cancer.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not the good thing, but the good thing is that I didn't know I had cancer until I had surgery. So they couldn't really diagnose me until I had my surgery, which I guess to me was a good thing, so that I didn't need to jump to the worst case scenario until I woke up in the hospital. And then they're like, you have cancer. And I was like, okay, please give me saltines and ginger ale so I can feel better.
That's what I do too. I always think of the food first. And
Exactly.
I get pound cake and ginger ale, but at least they always have the ginger ale. Matt?
How did your entire family's outlook change when your sister Mikaela was diagnosed so shortly after Marguerite finished her treatment?
I think I can take this one. And again, Matt, as you mentioned before, Mikaela is a breast cancer survivor. She's not here. So the other voice that's talking to me is not a cancer survivor. I just want that to be clear. So I think that coming off of Marguerite's diagnosis and successful treatment plan, hearing that Mikaela had cancer was almost unbelievable, in a sense that it was a state of disbelief where we thought, no, that's wrong. We just did this. But on the flip side, it was also, there was this sense of calm because it was something that we had been through so recently before, and it wasn't necessarily a shock to the system. It was more of just a quick hit, and we moved forward, and we kind of knew the avenues that we had to go to, how to react. We had already kind of dealt with our shock with Marguerite the first time, and then it was, okay, head down, not head down, but kind of using the sports references, but head down. What's the next play? What do we do next? How do we get through this? And I think it definitely having the experience with Marguerite may or soften the blow a little bit.
You seem to have taken it very professionally, and I think I would go into a panic or go screaming out in the street, and both of you seem like, okay, this is a life problem. We'll handle it. We've handled others, and I commend you for that, but it must have been torture at the time.
Well, some tears were shed. We're not heartless. We did cry.
No, I didn't mean it that way. It's just, some people can take things matter-of-factly and others get excited if their saltines aren't in a row or something. And you seem to have, put things in great order. And I'm guessing that helps in handling it by staying very unemotional and calm and listen to the experts, et cetera, et cetera. Now,
yeah, I think at the end of the day, we had to, in our mind, go through with a more positive outlook and mindset. And thankfully, we were all able to band together and get closer through this experience and really lean on each other. And I think having that support system, like Morgan said, of course, there were tears. Of course, this is news that you never want to get. But within our immediate family and extended family, the word cancer it comes up frequently. So I think that for us, it was very much like, well, we don't have any other choice because we're going to fight through this and we're going to beat it. And that's why I think now looking back, our outlook is positive, and it was then as well because it helped us get through it.
Now, can you tell us how did For All Who Fight get started? How did that come about?
Yeah, so when I was diagnosed back in 2018, in August, both Mikaela and I were training for the New York City Marathon that was taking place that November. Unfortunately, cancer was like the perfect excuse not to have to train anymore and run it. So I backed out, but Mikaela ran it for me to raise money for ovarian cancer research. So it kind of started with that little seed of just making T-shirts. They said like lacing up their kicks for Marguerite Rix. So everybody bought the T-shirts. Everybody wore them on the day of the race. And then Mikaela had one herself, more of a performance T-shirt, but a lot of supporters that came out for it. And then just a few short months later, when Mikaela was diagnosed, I wanted to do something for her to kind of pay it forward as well, knowing that she was such a support for me. So I worked at a Pure Barre studio in Garden City, and we were able to host donation classes to raise money for breast cancer research. So it started as kind of like a tit for tat type of thing, trying to be the better sister. And we were able to do hats for the event that we had at Pure Barre. So we raised money that way and through the donation classes. And then after that, it kind of just again snowballed from there, realizing that we can make a broader impact than just from our immediate circle of people that we knew. And we hosted the Pure Barre event for Mikaela in around October of 2019. And then we started the following year with our annual walks that we've been having every September, October in light of Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And they've just grown beyond our wildest beliefs. And like you mentioned in the beginning, got picked up by NBC. We've been on News 12. So those highlights that we've gotten have really helped our cause and moved it beyond what we could ever imagine.
I was going to say that you started out raising a few funds and helping, I guess, others. But this sounds like it's a full-time occupation right now.
Well, we give a lot of credit of that to Mikaela, who is not here to speak about all the behind the scenes work that she does do. But you are right. It started off by being like, wow, we got a $5,000. That's awesome. And now to this day, it's over, I would say like 150 from all of our combination of efforts that we've had over the past 3 years or so. And obviously we give that to Memorial Sloan Kettering, where Mikaela got treated. They have a young women's breast cancer program, as well as the Foundation for Women's Cancer, who works closely with ovarian cancers, as well as NYU Langone. So we're really trying to use our experience to educate and raise awareness, and also to help others that may find themselves in our shoes, and hopefully not a few short years.
This really is an example. We hear the expression turn lemons into lemonade, but you took a terrible life stunning event and now are using it to help others. And as young people, you're probably going to be doing it for many, many years to come. So that's a pretty awesome accomplishment. So we take our hats off to you.
Thank you.
You are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Matt Leonard along with Bill Horan, and today we are talking with two sisters from Long Island, one of which is a cancer survivor who started a nonprofit that through fundraisers supports those who won the fight, lost the fight, those still fighting, and those who are unaware of the fight that lies ahead. Our guests are Marguerite and Morgayne Rix, two of the co-founders of For All Who Fight. Where do the proceeds of all the fundraisers, all the funds you raise, where exactly, you mentioned Kettering and a lot of the hospitals, can you speak more to that and maybe more specifics of what exactly the funds are going to?
So, like I mentioned, they go to MSK for the Young Women's Breast Cancer Program. So that's a program that Mikaela is tied to through her surgeon and her oncologist that she had, Dr. Gemignani, who is at MSK in New York City. So they've worked closely together. So it goes directly into like the research that she's doing as well. And then myself, I was treated at NYU Langone, Winthrop in Mineola, New York. And my doctor, Dr. Chalice, actually turned me on to the Foundations for Women's Cancer, who has a really great mentorship program for young women who are experiencing a cancer diagnosis. The Foundations for Women's Cancer kind of ties into both breast and ovarian cancer, as those are obviously uniquely women's cancer. Breast cancer, you obviously can get it as a male as well. So for that, we have kind of partnered with both organizations, as well as this year we're working with NYU Langone in their ovarian research department as well, and kind of finding, I guess, I don't know if necessarily research is the right word, but finding people that are kind of pushing the needle forward in different types of research and efforts to work specifically with young women. That's a very niche community that we are a part of, and a lot of young women may not think that they would ever get a cancer diagnosis between the ages of potentially 18 and 35. So we really focus on that type of demographic so that we can use our knowledge to help educate them and, donate to causes that are important to us so that we can also hopefully end cancer in young women.
Morgan, can you tell us how these cancer journeys affected the relationship between the three of you as sisters?
Sure. I think that I'm the youngest, Marguerite's the middle, and Mikaela is the oldest. And I think that regardless if you're related or not, when you get three girls kind of in close quarters growing up or what have you, there's always going to be different personalities and different relationships. And I would say that I have a different relationship with Mikaela than I do for Marguerite, be it that because Marguerite and I are slightly closer in age. Mikaela and I are a little further apart. Mikaela and I have more sports in common. So I think the way that I handled both of them were a little bit different, where Marguerite, I was still in college at the time when she was diagnosed. I was actually just recovering from knee surgery. So fortunately for me, of course, it was a bit of a shock, but I wasn't playing in my fall season. So I was able to actually come back for a lot of her treatments. That I was able to sit with her, maybe be back for a week, just catch up on my schoolwork at home, and then go back down to Baltimore once her treatments were over. So I think that definitely made us a lot closer. And Marguerite also and I have a very similar sense of humor. We're both very sarcastic and very dark, which I think over the course of that definitely added some levity to it. And some jokes where if you kind of make it outside of our family circle, people get a little concerned, where it's just kind of our way of coping with things or making kind of light of a situation. So I think that definitely brought us closer as well. Whereas Mikaela, on the flip side of it, I was living in New York, or moving back to New York at the time when she was diagnosed. We were actually working for the same company, and she took a leave of absence. But Mikaela has always been and still is the older sister, takes charge of everything, where it wasn't as if not that she needed help, but I was like, hey, like, what's your plan? She's like, well, I have all of this listed out. I'm doing A, B, and C. I'm going here and I'm going there. And I was like, okay, so like you got this covered, right? He was like, yeah, I got it. And I was like, okay, I'll be there for you though. So I think it was definitely two different experiences, but both very difficult. One that I don't wish upon anybody that has siblings, male or female, because it is definitely different seeing your sisters who are your age, who you've looked up to your entire life, going through something. It's very hard, but at the same time, I admire both of them so much just because of what they've been able to go through and the grace and composure and demeanor that they've both been able to handle this with and come out the other side. I think it's really remarkable.
I'm just wondering, can you tell us what you do for a living? I mean, obviously you spend a lot of time working on, For All Who Fight, but do you have, I'm assuming, separate jobs and occupations?
Yes, I work at Morgan Stanley here in New York City. I am on the cash sales trading desk in our equities division, and Mikaela also works at Morgan Stanley. She is a municipal bonds trader on the fixed income division. So we're in the same building, different departments, different floors.
And Marguerite, how about you?
Marguerite does not work for Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
I work
probably for a competitor, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I work at a middle school out in Suffolk County as a counselor. Okay.
No, and I say this respectfully, you all sound very intelligent and very well versed in what you're talking about. And I think you're going to be helping a lot of people through this show and through other times when you get out and speak to the public, because you're making the journey easier for them and expressing what you went through to help them along with that journey.
How do you think sharing your stories and the things you have gone through has affected other young adults diagnosed with cancer? Meaning, have people in the community maybe reach out to you, share their stories? Do they say you inspire them, or what kind of effect do you think it has?
So I think that's, at least for me, one of the most rewarding aspects of being able to share our story is that people have reached out to us and asked for advice, asked for their opinions. They've reached out to our parents as well, even, parents that are going through this from their end and just had a daughter or a son that has been diagnosed. And before this, I wasn't being asked for like a lot of advice or insight or anything like that in regards to a topic that we are so knowledgeable about. But even just through friends that have said, oh, I know this person that was just diagnosed. Would you mind getting on a phone call with them? Or I have my doctor reaching out and saying, we just had a young woman that was diagnosed with a similar cancer that you have had. Would you mind talking to them? And I know that Mikaela has experienced a lot of that same thing coming from the connection that is MSK. They have a really good network there, as does NYU. So I think that alone has been the most rewarding, because you can watch commercials, you can listen to people talk on TV or read articles, but I sometimes feel like it lacks that personal connection when you don't know them. And obviously everybody's journey is different and everybody's story is different, and I can tell mine and it's not going to be the same as someone that has the exact same diagnosis as me, but I can share my insights and what I went through in the hopes that even if they could just take like a nugget of information or advice, that will help them along in their journey at the end of the day. So for me, I feel like I don't know if it's necessarily inspiration or just like advice or help, but it's nice to be a sounding board, even if people just want to talk about what they're going through. And I know that Morgan has, in the sibling role of this equation, has played just as pivotal part as Mikaela and I in the journey of For All Who Fight, because at the end of the day, to a person that gets diagnosed, there's always someone kind of like behind the curtain, right? Like you can't just do it on your own, or maybe you can, but we couldn't. So I think that for her, she's even had other siblings of people that have been diagnosed reach out and ask for, how did she do it, right? You're kind of like that pillar of strength when other people are broken, sort of say. So I think that for us, sharing this, doing something like this has been the most impactful, because we have a circle of people, but something like this reaches so much more beyond our circle that through social media, they're able to reach out after they heard our story. And after the end, we were featured on NBC. I honestly was like, is this what famous people feel like? Because we really did have a lot of people that were struggling that reached out to us and asked for our advice because it's such a specific age group and they want to know as much information as they can, which is, I think, great.
I was just thinking as you're answering that, you're kind of Long Island's version of the Kardashians, aren't you?
Well,
Bill, is that a comment or is that a comment or insult, Bill?
It's a compliment. I'm saying it as a compliment. So you're famous and you're helping others and certainly much more than the other Kardashians. So you're doing a great job.
The Long Island Kardashians that actually have a positive impact on the world, if you will.
There you go.
You are listening to My Home.
That's a new one. We've never been called that before.
You always learn something new talking to Bill, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
You are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Matt Leonard along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking to two sisters from Long Island, one of which is a cancer survivor who, along with their sister, started a non-profit that through fundraisers supports those who won the fight, lost the fight, those still fighting, and those who are unaware of the fight that lies ahead. Our guests today are Marguerite and Morgayne Rix, the co-founders of For All Who Fight.
You talked about sponsoring a group in the New York City Marathon and the half marathon. How did you get involved with them? That's one of the biggest marathons in the world, isn't it?
Yep. So Mikaela actually got involved through Fred's team, who is the team, obviously, everyone in the orange shirts for Memorial Sloan Kettering, who run the marathon on behalf of Memorial Sloan Kettering and are able to raise money for various teams. And so after Mikaela was diagnosed, she was still in touch with the people at Fred's team and Memorial Sloan Kettering because Mikaela never loses touch with anybody. And she expressed an interest in creating a team for We Fight Like Girls where all the money would go to the Foundation for Women's Cancer, as Margaret mentioned, at Memorial Sloan Kettering. So at first, it just started off as a small group of people, and it was some close friends, some people who had heard about us and wanted to run the marathon and get a bid. And now it's definitely expanded as well, where this year I've had friends reach out to me and say, hey, can I run for We Fight Like Girls? And we've had to for All Who Fight. And we've actually had to turn them away and say, our team is full, unfortunately, but I will write your name down for next year. And just seeing how, and similar to what we did for the half marathon as well, we had a team running to raise money. But again, the big ticket is the New York City Marathon. And so just seeing the impact and having so many people, I had 5 friends at least that I had to turn away and say, unfortunately, I tried to ask Mikaela. She said, the team is completely full, but next year I have your name down. Don't worry if you want to run it. If you can't get another bid this year, let me know. We would love for you to run with us again, like next year. So I think that has definitely been one of the most fun parts about this organization is everyone watches the New York City Marathon. Everybody loves the New York City Marathon, whether you're running, whether you're running around subwaying New York City, searching for your friends. It's just a really special day to be in New York, and having a group of people, and I have the chills right now, but having a group of people that are running for something that you care so much about, a cause that we so deeply believe in, and friends saying, hey, I want to run for you. I want to wear your foundation's name on like my shirt, and I want to do this for a great cause, is something that I think is one of the most special things that we do.
It really is. And it's wonderful through these marathons that they do so much for charities and all different charities, because you can't do something bad for a charity. No matter what you're doing, no matter what charity, you're helping somebody. And I think we need more of that. So that on behalf of anybody, whether we're suffering from the disease or not, you're doing a great job. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
What piece of advice would you give to a young, healthy adult who is starting a career in the quote unquote, real world that we live in now? You're obviously very successful at what you do.
You want to go, Mark?
Sure, I'll go, and then I'm sure you have your own different piece of advice as well. For me, going through my own experience, I would say that this is going to sound so silly, but I looking back, I needed my parents to do this for me or help me or encourage me. But like, make your doctor's appointments and go to your doctor's appointments and make sure you're going to like every doctor. Don't just go to like a dentist. Go to all of the doctors, solely because not being a hypochondriac or anything, but you know your body the best. So Morgan, don't look at me like I'm a hypochondriac. You are. If you feel something is wrong or you see something is wrong, be your own advocate would be my biggest advice, because nobody is going to have your back like you're going to have your back. So if you feel something, if you see something, it's like if you see something, say something, do something about it, because Mikaela and I were fortunate enough to find our cancers at stage 1 through the encouragement of family and friends and nurses being like, maybe you should go see a doctor. So I think for us, that early push to go see a doctor and get it figured out really helped us get diagnosed at stage 1 instead of stage 4. So that's like a whole winded way to say, like, be your own advocate and go to the doctor if you think something is wrong.
And I thank you for that, because that's a great point for people, especially younger people who may feel doctors are for old people, or at least our parents. And seriously, when we're young, we don't think things are going to affect us or get us. And the fact that you are alerting them to this necessity, I think, is wonderful. Where do you see For All Who Fight in the next 5 or 10 years?
I think that our trajectory right now is only upwards. And I think we are all really excited about it, where ideally we will continue to do our annual walk that we do in September or October every year. And then from there, sky is the limit. We can partner with other organizations. We will continue to have a team for the marathon, and even just other sponsorship events, galas or fundraisers or tournaments of some kind, where we've obviously been involved in, and I'm sure we all have seen these different tournaments or dinners, et cetera, that these different organizations put on. And we're always happy to give our money to a good cause. And eventually we'd like to be one of those causes that people get excited to go to an event about, or to an event for, excuse me. So I think that so long as we stick to our cause, which we will, and it's a great cause, we'll be able to just raise as much money as possible for this research and this cure for these diseases. And I think at the end of the day, that's our main goal, whether it be next year, 5 years, 10 years. We will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to make a difference. And if we can make a difference in just one person's life or one person's course of treatment, that is awesome.
Well, I would certainly bet my money on you too, because you're terrific examples of what can be done, what should be done, and giving good advice to young ladies. Morgan and Marguerite Rix, thank you so much for being with us today. Our guests have been the co-founders of For All Who Fight. Thanks so much thank you for your time and spending it with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us.
I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Matt Leonard. We thank you for listening to this week's special edition of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to whpc@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.